Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most profound philosophical debates of all time, the existence of God. Specifically, we'll be discussing two compelling arguments against the existence of God, the Omnipotence Paradox and the Epicurean Paradox. Both have challenged believers and thinkers for centuries, and today, we'll break them down and explore why they might offer 100% proof that God does not exist. Let's get started. The Epicurean Paradox has lingered in theological debates for centuries, a challenge so profound that many religious institutions have seemingly buried it. Epicurus, a Greek philosopher who lived from 341 to 270 BC, dared to question the nature of God in a way that shook the very foundations of belief. His argument was simple, yet devastating. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-good, why does evil exist? This question has echoed throughout history, often suppressed or ignored by those who fear the consequences of its implications. In the ancient world, such questions sparked heated debates, but by the time Christianity became the dominant religion of the Roman Empire, they were no longer just philosophical musings, they had become dangerous. In 529 CE, Emperor Justinian ordered the closure of the School of Athens, a move many historians see as a deliberate attempt to silence dissenting voices questioning the new orthodoxy. This marked the beginning of an era where challenges to divine omnipotence were labeled as heresy. Could this suppression have been driven by a fear that the paradox, if widely known, would undermine the legitimacy of religious authority? One of the most common responses to the paradox came from Augustine of Hippo, who argued that evil exists because of human free will, not because of God's negligence or malevolence. But this explanation raised just as many questions as it answered. What about natural disasters, diseases, or tragedies that seem to have no connection to human choice? Why would a benevolent deity allow suffering that serves no apparent purpose? During the Enlightenment, philosophers like David Hume revisited Epicurus's paradox, reframing the argument to challenge the very nature of divine justice and the problem of suffering. David Hume's writings reignited the debate over the Epicurean paradox, exposing its logical contradictions. Yet, the response from religious institutions was often silence or worse, condemnation. By labeling these thinkers as atheists or heretics, the Church avoided the need to provide meaningful answers, leaving the paradox unresolved. This avoidance hints at a deeper insecurity. What if the paradox truly has no resolution within the framework of traditional theology? In modern times, theologians have continued to grapple with the problem of evil, offering theories like the soul-making argument, which suggests that suffering is necessary for spiritual growth. But this explanation falters when faced with gratuitous suffering, the death of the innocent, or catastrophic natural events. These instances of seemingly purposeless evil challenge the idea of a just and loving deity, exposing cracks in the theological foundation. Even more unsettling are theories that propose evil is not an oversight, but an integral part of a divine plan. Some fringe thinkers suggest that suffering serves as a form of cosmic testing, or even as a means of energy manipulation, a chilling concept that reframes the paradox as a feature of existence, rather than a flaw. Could this theory hint at a much more complex and sinister agenda than we've ever imagined? The Epicurean paradox forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about the nature of belief and the systems that rely on it. If these questions remain unanswered, does it mean God does not exist? Or does it reveal that our understanding of God is incomplete? For centuries, religious institutions have thrived on certainty, offering a framework of meaning to countless lives. To challenge that certainty is to threaten the very foundation of these systems, which may explain why so many have sought to suppress such questions. The omnipotence paradox has often been suppressed or dismissed, but it strikes at the heart of one of theology's most sacred concepts, the idea of an all-powerful God. For centuries, this logical trap has left scholars and theologians scratching their heads, unable to resolve the inherent contradictions. The paradox is deceptively simple, yet devastatingly profound. If God is truly omnipotent, the power to do absolutely anything should include the ability to create a rock so heavy that he cannot lift it. But if he cannot lift it, he isn't omnipotent. And if he cannot create such a rock, then he isn't omnipotent either. No matter how you frame it, the very concept of omnipotence seems to fall apart. While this might sound like just another philosophical puzzle, the implications are far-reaching. The concept of an omnipotent deity is central to many of the world's major religions, and any crack in this foundation threatens the entire structure. The paradox is not just a riddle, it's a bombshell. If omnipotence is logically incoherent, what does that say about the God most people worship? Throughout history, religious scholars have attempted to sidestep this dilemma with various explanations. Thomas Aquinas, one of the most influential theologians in history, argued that omnipotence does not mean God can do the logically impossible. In other words, God cannot create contradictions, such as a square circle or a rock so heavy he cannot lift it. But doesn't this restriction undermine the very idea of being all-powerful? If there are limits, even logical ones, how can omnipotence remain an absolute attribute? Some theologians go even further, redefining omnipotence to mean that God can do anything that aligns with his nature. This argument suggests that God is only bound by his own essence. But this conveniently sidesteps the deeper question: why would a perfect and infinite being even be bound by anything at all? Some theologians argue that God's omnipotence is limited only by his own nature, suggesting that he cannot do things that would contradict his essence. But critics have pointed out that such redefinitions feel more like theological gymnastics than real solutions. The paradox also hints at a deeper human flaw in our understanding of the divine. Could it be that omnipotence isn't truly a reflection of God's nature, but rather a human construct? Throughout history, humanity has created gods in its own image, projecting our desires, fears, and need for control onto an infinite canvas. Omnipotence, as a concept, may simply be the ultimate expression of these projections, a desire for a perfect, infallible being that transcends the messy realities of life. If this is true, then the omnipotence paradox exposes more than just a logical inconsistency. It reveals the limitations of human imagination. In our attempt to conceive of a flawless deity, we may have created something that cannot exist within the bounds of reason. This realization raises unsettling questions about the authenticity of the divine narratives upheld by religion. Religious apologists often dismiss the paradox as a trivial or misguided critique, but their refusal to engage deeply with it speaks volumes. If omnipotence crumbles under scrutiny, what other aspects of theology might fall apart as well? Could God's other attributes, omniscience, omnibenevolence, omnipresence, also be flawed constructs? The persistence of the omnipotence paradox suggests that the very idea of an all-powerful being may be a conceptual impossibility. It forces us to confront a sobering possibility. The God we envision, one who can defy all limits and contradictions, may not exist at all, or at least our understanding of God is deeply flawed, shaped more by human imagination than by divine truth. What's even more fascinating, and perhaps troubling, is the silence that often surrounds this paradox in religious circles. Few sermons, catechisms, or theological discussions dare to touch it. Why? Because admitting even the smallest crack in the idea of omnipotence could unravel the entire edifice of belief. The slightest flaw in the concept of omnipotence risks unraveling millennia of belief systems built upon it. The cosmic silence in response to human suffering is perhaps the most haunting aspect of humanity's search for God. Across history, through prayers, rituals, and desperate pleas, people have called out for divine intervention. Yet, in the darkest moments of human history during genocides, famines, plagues, and wars, the heavens have remained eerily silent. No divine hand has visibly reached down to stop the suffering. The question echoes in the minds of those who endure pain: where is God in our darkest moments? Take, for example, the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jewish men, women, and children were systematically murdered in one of history's greatest atrocities. Survivors of the concentration camps described moments of despair so profound that many turned their gaze upward, begging for salvation that never came. Elie Wiesel, a Holocaust survivor and Nobel laureate, famously wrote in his memoir, Night, about his struggle to reconcile God's silence with the horrors he witnessed. The Holocaust stands as a stark indictment of divine absence, a moment when humanity was left to face the abyss alone. This pattern repeats across history. Where was God during the Rwandan genocide, when over 800,000 people were slaughtered in just 100 days? Where was he during the Black Death, which wiped out nearly a third of Europe's population? Or during the Boxing Day tsunami of 2004, which killed over 230,000 people across multiple countries? The common response from believers is that God works in mysterious ways. But does this explanation hold up under scrutiny? The advancement of science has only deepened the mystery of God's silence. Astrophysicists have uncovered astonishing details about the origins of the universe, and the Big Bang Theory, our current scientific explanation, describes a moment roughly 13.8 billion years ago when the universe began. Yet, as we unravel the mysteries of the cosmos, we are left to ask, why then does God remain silent in the face of such overwhelming suffering? Billion years ago, the universe expanded from an unimaginably dense singularity, setting the stage for the cosmos we know today. The data supporting this theory is compelling. Cosmic microwave background radiation, the measurable expansion of galaxies, and precise mathematical models all point to this origin. Notably, this framework requires no divine intervention. In fact, the sheer vastness and indifference of the universe suggest a cosmos that operates according to natural laws, not divine will. Stars are born and die in violent supernovae, entire galaxies collide, and black holes devour everything in their reach. These are not the hallmarks of a universe crafted with humanity in mind. Carl Sagan once reflected on the pale blue dot, a photograph of Earth taken from 3.7 billion miles away, as a humbling reminder of our insignificance in the grand scale of the universe. If there is a God, why does he seem so detached from the cosmos he supposedly created? This silence becomes even more deafening in light of modern technology. In an age where virtually everyone carries a smartphone capable of recording miracles, no irrefutable evidence of divine intervention has emerged. No miraculous healings, no angelic apparitions, no booming voice from the sky offering guidance or comfort. Instead, we see a world that operates under predictable natural laws, with randomness and chaos accounting for much of what we experience. Believers often argue that God's silence is a test of faith. But this raises troubling questions. Why would a loving God test humanity through unrelenting pain and suffering? Why allow the innocent to suffer while the wicked prosper? Theologians like C.S. Lewis have suggested that pain is a necessary part of free will and moral growth. But this explanation rings hollow when faced with senseless tragedies. How does a child starving in a famine grow from their suffering? How does a parent mourning the loss of their family in a natural disaster find meaning in their grief? Even more unsettling is the possibility that God's silence isn't evidence of his absence, but of his indifference. Could it be that a creator exists, but simply doesn't intervene in the affairs of humanity? This idea aligns with deism, the belief that God set the universe into motion and then withdrew, leaving it to unfold according to its own laws. While this avoids the contradictions of omnipotence and omnibenevolence, it paints a chilling picture of a creator who watches from a distance, unmoved by human suffering. Others suggest that God's silence reflects humanity's failure to listen. Mystics and spiritual leaders have long claimed that the divine speaks in subtle ways through the beauty of nature, the intricacies of mathematics, or the love shared between people. But even this interpretation feels like an evasion, a way to justify the lack of clear, undeniable evidence. If God truly wanted humanity to know him, wouldn't he make himself unmistakably known? The origins of God as a concept might not be divine at all. Instead, they could be rooted in humanity's need to make sense of the inexplicable. Long before the rise of monotheism, ancient civilizations created entire pantheons of gods to explain the natural world and the forces that shaped their lives. From the Egyptian sun god Re to the Norse thunder god Thor, every culture tailored its deities to fit its environment, values, and understanding of the universe. In ancient Mesopotamia, for instance, gods like Enlil and Ishtar were deeply connected to agriculture, fertility, and war, key concerns for a society dependent on farming and conquest. Similarly, the Greeks anthropomorphized their gods, assigning them human flaws and dramas, which made them relatable but also reflective of societal values. These gods weren't omnipotent or perfect. They were tools for storytelling and reflection, rather than the absolute beings we envision today. Ancient gods served not only as moral guides, but also as explanations for natural phenomena like storms, earthquakes, and disease. As human knowledge grew, the need for such divine explanations began to shrink. Science and philosophy started to challenge traditional divine narratives. Lightning, once seen as the wrath of Zeus, was revealed to be an electrical discharge caused by atmospheric conditions. Diseases previously attributed to curses or divine punishment were explained by pathogens and poor sanitation. Each new scientific revelation chipped away at the authority of these gods, leaving them to fade into mythology. The transition to monotheism marked a significant turning point in humanity's spiritual evolution. Unlike polytheistic systems, which fragmented power among multiple deities, monotheism consolidated it into one all-encompassing entity. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam each proclaimed the existence of a single, omnipotent God, not just as a force of nature, but as the creator of all things. This God wasn't merely an explanation for natural phenomena. He became the source of morality, justice, and ultimate purpose. However, this shift raises an unsettling question. Was the monotheistic God merely the next iteration in a long line of human inventions? After all, the concept of a singular, all-powerful deity conveniently solved many of the problems that plagued polytheistic systems by attributing all power, knowledge, and goodness to one being. Monotheism provided a more cohesive framework for explaining existence, but it also centralized authority, making religion a powerful tool for social and political control. The inconsistencies between different monotheistic traditions further complicate the idea of a truly universal God. For example, Christianity describes God as a trinity, three in one, a concept that challenges the very notion of a singular, all-powerful being. In Christianity, God is often envisioned as a loving Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, while Islam staunchly rejects this concept, emphasizing God's absolute oneness. Hinduism, typically viewed as polytheistic, also contains monotheistic elements, such as the belief in Brahman as the ultimate reality. Even within a single religion, interpretations of God's nature vary wildly. Some Christians see God as a loving, forgiving deity, while others emphasize his wrath and judgment. If God were truly real, and if he wanted humanity to know him, why wouldn't there be a universal consensus on his nature? Instead, each culture and era has molded God to suit its needs. In times of war, God is portrayed as a warrior leading his people to victory. In times of peace, he is a shepherd guiding his flock with love and compassion. This malleability suggests that God may be less of an eternal truth and more of a cultural construct, a reflection of humanity's hopes, fears, and aspirations. Consider the psychological aspect of belief. Humans have an innate tendency to seek patterns and assign meaning to random events, a trait that likely evolved as a survival mechanism in a chaotic and unpredictable world. The idea of an all-powerful God provides comfort and stability. It offers answers to life's biggest questions. Why are we here? What happens after we die? Why do bad things happen? These answers, even if unverifiable, fulfill a deep psychological need. Yet history shows that gods are often replaced as our understanding of the world deepens. The sun, once worshipped as a deity, is now understood as a star. Volcanoes, once thought to be the anger of gods, are now explained by tectonic activity. Every time science uncovers the mechanisms behind a mystery, the gods associated with it fade away. This pattern raises the ultimate question: is the God of modern monotheism any different? Welcome to Blessovia Science TV, where we take you on an exhilarating journey through the cosmos and unravel the mysteries of science. We are excited to offer you the opportunity to become a valued member of our ever-growing community of cosmic enthusiasts and knowledge seekers. Exclusive access to cosmic content. As a member of Blessovia Science TV, you will gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of cosmic content, including documentaries, interviews with leading scientists, space missions updates, and awe-inspiring visualizations of the universe, live Q, and sessions with experts. Your membership will grant you the chance to participate in live Q and sessions with renowned scientists, astronomers, and space explorers. Get your burning questions answered by those who push the boundaries of human knowledge. Embark on a journey that spans the cosmos and join us in unraveling the secrets of the universe. Become a Blessovia Science TV member today, and together we will reach for the stars. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.